You can always tell an Audi S model by the aluminum side mirrors. The latest addition to the family is the S6. Its sport air suspension with a firm ride puts the model 2 centimeters lower than the regular A6. S models are always four-wheel drive. You also have the option of a sports differential for the S6, which allocates the power among the rear wheels. The stats certainly make the S6 appealing. It makes the dash from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 4.6 seconds. A peak torque of 550 Newton meters makes accelerating more fun. Klaus Niedzwied's World Touring Car Championship runner-up in 1987 shows us just how much beef the S6 has. He calls its performance unbelievable in terms of suspension, power, and braking. The air suspension as well as the four-wheel drive translate into very balanced handling. When taking fast bends, it pushes a little over the front axle. The power is amazing. It presses you back in your seat and reminds him of race cars he used to drive. And the S6 sedan is not alone. Audi is launching 3 new S models at once, the others being the S6 Avant and the S7 Sportback. The Audi sports department means business. And what do you know? The S7 is also derived from the 6 Series. All body versions come with optional sports packages. The 3 models share a number of features, like the 4 exhaust tips, but they each have their distinctive character. Just as well, given the difference in what people expect from a sports car from one country to the next. Andreas Finges from Audi says America will be the principal market for the S-Series models. He expects the S6 four-door to be popular in America, and the S6 Avant to have most of its sales in Germany, and the S7 Sportback to be a hit in China. What these 3 new S models have in common is their engines. All have the same 4-liter V8 bi-turbo with 309 kilowatt output. The engine made its mark in the S8, where it boasted some 73 kilowatt extra power. Downsizing the engine from 10 to 8 cylinders boosted the car's efficiency, as does the cylinder-on-demand system. 4 cylinders drive the car when 8 are not needed, but a dynamic engine bracket gives the same calm and stability as when it's running on all 8 cylinders. The hatchback hits 100 kilometers an hour in an impressive 4.7 seconds. The 7-speed double-clutch transmission lets the driver change gears lightning fast, permits both a sporty pickup in the lower gears as well as lower RPMs at higher speeds. There's also an option to shift gears using shift paddles on the steering wheel. The former race car driver says the S7 Sportback is, of course, visually different. He thinks it's also intended for a different market segment. It's a little more elegant, a little more luxurious, but technologically its engine and its drivetrain are the same, so you get similar performance. But what he really likes are the extremely strong brakes. When you hit them at high speed, you feel really safe, he says. Take a look at the interior and you'll see that there isn't much of a difference between the S6 and the S7, mainly the contrast between the various leather upholsteries. Sport seats with headrests are standard. There's a difference in the back, too. The S6 seats 5, while the S7 is intended for 4. So let's recap. Audi is making its usual statement, blending sportiness with class in the new S-Series models. And if your aim is to stand out from the crowd, we'd say pick one of the exotic models, such as the S7. Volvo is launching the C30 Electric. It's based on the C30 sister model, which runs on gasoline. The production run will be small, just 250 units at first. The 82 kilowatt engine takes the subcompact from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 12 seconds, and to a top speed of 130. The car has a range of about 120 kilometers on one charge. Customers in Germany can get one via a 3-year lease agreement. Mercedes is introducing a new SL with AMG enhancements. The SL63 AMG is a powerhouse boasting a 5.5-liter V8 bi-turbo engine that can up it to 250 kilometers per hour. 2 other models with 395 and 415 kilowatts of power will also be available. The most powerful model, when topped up with a performance package, sells for €14,000 more. Matas Kurat is pleased to have a chance to sit in the Lamborghini Gallardo Spyder Performante in sunny California. He'll be test driving it today.
Performante zu sitzen, den ich heute mal Probe fahre.
Right off, it's clear today's Lamborghinis drive just as easily as an Audi. That might have to do with the fact that the Santa Agata sports car craftsmen are now a subsidiary of VW. Yet, there are differences. Matas Kurat likes the Sport button, which adjusts the electronic stability program and gives the engine a throaty, muscular sound.
Etwas umgestellt, sondern auch der Auspuffsound wird wesentlich kerniger.
It delays the gear shift a bit and gives the engine more pickup, though it does sacrifice some driving comfort. This fun function is not meant for driving in normal traffic. A 419 kilowatt or 570 horsepower engine makes the Gallardo LP574 Spyder Performante one of the fastest and most powerful open-top production sports cars in the world. The cockpit, placed far forward, is typical of Lamborghini. The engine's 10 cylinders need plenty of room at the back, and that's no understatement. LED rear lights with a Y motif and a giant spoiler complement the car's characteristic rump. Upscale materials are worked into an ambitious interior. 3 buttons on the console take the place of a gearshift lever. The reverse gear is off to one side, to the left of the steering wheel.
Natürlich.
Matas discovers the Gallardo Spyder Performante does have space for luggage, even if the word trunk may be taking it too far. It's barely got room for a jacket and a small bag. He calls it a trunklet.
Eine kleine Tasche und eine Jacke gehen nicht rein. Kofferräumchen trifft es da schon eher.
Even so, its 110-liter volume is 30 liters more than the fuel tank. But who needs luggage in a Lamborghini? This car is for driving and having fun. The permanent 4-wheel drive optimizes performance and makes hairy rear swerving, at least for this car, a thing of the past. Anyone with halfway decent driving skills can handle the Performante. Very few will ever manage to reach its limits. Our car tester Matas is delighted. even if a bit frustrated over factors beyond his control. Speed limits in California are strictly enforced, so he'll never get the chance to test the Gallardo Spyder Performante's true performance on the public roads here. That'll have to wait for another time and place. A mere 178 of these vintage models were ever built. And auto enthusiast Andreas Moser is lucky enough to own one of these BMW 319-1s, dating from 1936. He says it's important to keep both hands on the wheel, if only because the vehicle reacts pretty sensitively to over- or understeering. The BMW 319 debuted in 1934 with a then new 1.9-liter six-cylinder engine. It looked identical to its predecessor, the 315-1 Sport, but boasted 15 more horsepower. The 319 cost a cool 6,000 Reichsmarks, a princely sum back then, nearly 4 times what an average worker earned in a year. The way the BMW logo is connected to the two grilles is typical of BMW, says Andreas. The glass on the headlights are original. They date to the pre-war period. That's why they're missing a certification seal. Andreas really likes the car's almost open style and what's called a H-style shifter. He stows his tools here. The kit consists largely of original items. He likes the car's contours in particular, especially the way they look when studied from the side. The wheel housings are also covered. They lend an aerodynamic touch that improves airflow over the car. The BMW didn't always glisten the way it does today. Andreas restored it himself and knows where and what every screw and knob is. Apparently, the vehicle was ripe for restoration because it had been involved in a car accident. As such, many parts were broken. The car had to be completely rebuilt. The frame was set atop wooden dollies while experts refashioned the wood. But that reconstruction wasn't the hardest part of the restoration. The most demanding part for Andreas was actually examining the engine. One major issue was that back when the car was built, different bearing shells were used in the crankshaft. He didn't want to install any previously used pieces. He wanted instead to use something made of modern materials. The significant restoration work on the engine and the body was worth it. After a total of 14 years working on the BMW, the 319-1 today almost looks like a brand new car. Yet it doesn't seem over-restored. Prices for a model in such good condition as this one will set you back around €250,000. On the weekend, Andreas takes part in vintage car events, and this Beamer isn't spared the wear and tear of such trips. Andreas drives it to such events rather than using a carrier. He wants to enjoy every moment he can at its wheel. He loves the sound of the engine and the views. It's more or less a convertible or a roadster. You can appreciate nature and speed more in a car like this than you would in one of today's modern models. He took the car to a BMW Veteran Club event in the Austrian Alps. The cars embark on a 300-kilometer journey. Any BMW older than 1981 is eligible to take part in the drive. Stars big and small from BMW editions of the past take part, including the legendary BMW Isetta. The 319-1 runs with the best of BMW's many vintage models. The car delivers 55 horsepower through its straight six-cylinder engine, and it weighs a mere 780 kilograms. Top speed is 135 kilometers per hour. The 319 is considered the first sports car capable of operating just as well in daily use as on a racetrack. But the car is not perfect, and there are some detailing issues that Andreas Moser has noticed in his work on the car. For example, a problem with the gas tank makes driving up hills problematic. Andreas explains how the production mistake is visible. The tank is trapezoid-shaped. This is the line connecting the oil filter. And then this connects to the pump. When he drives up a hill, the tank rotates. And as a result, the gas pools at the rear of the tank and doesn't flow the way it should. If you're unlucky, he adds, a steep incline can cause the gas flow to cease and the engine to turn off. Andreas knows every wrinkle of his BMW. His tour and the drive back home went off without a hitch. He tries to clock up at least 8,000 kilometers every year with his 319-1 because, like many of his fellow vintage car buffs, he feels these cars should see the open road as often as possible.